let's check this Matt Chandler article. So I'll read this a little. They had to pick. Doggone it! This is the articles from Christianity Today, and they got this picture of him doing like a oh my type of. I mean, we're not a scandal rag, all right? We can pull ourselves together.
I mean, Christianity Today is sometimes a scandal rag.
Yeah, that's true. The Village Church pastor Matt Chandler announced on Sunday that he had an inappropriate online relationship with a woman and is taking an indefinite leave of absence from preaching and teaching. So first thing I thought of was, crap. He's like sending pictures of his, lower meridian or something like. And I thought, doggone it anyway.
I'd pay probably $3 not to know the inner workings of Ben's mind starting 15 seconds ago.
That isn't what you thought?
No.
Oh. Well, hot dang.
Yeah, I went a whole different direction, too.
Okay.
I thought it was like, hey, let's meet for dinner.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Either way.
Dan went more 1950s.
Well, he's. I have a lot of respect for the guy.
Yeah, right. Meet me at the Soda Jerk.
Okay.
Groovy.
And then it says, the relationship was not sexual or romantic. And so I kind of stopped there and I go, okay, I mean, what is he trying to do? Get discounts on soda, for the church?
Once again,
rectory.
And now it's up to like $6 I'd pay not to hear such ridiculous thoughts.
Well, pictures of the elbow.
It
looks like a butt. Anybody used to do that? Put your elbow together and take a picture of the crease that looks like a butt.
Guess what this is?
Crap! Now I'm gonna get taken away from the pastorate.
I'm gonna send it to my wife. I'll do it later. I had my crease out at the studio. That's going on a shirt.
Gross.
Okay. Okay, but it says the relationship was not sexual or romantic, Chandler told his church, but the elders believe the frequent and familiar direct messages exchanged over Instagram were unguarded and unwise and revealed something unhealthy in me. Chandler said he agreed with their assessment and was grateful for the spiritual oversight. He says, we cannot be a church where anyone is above the scriptures and above the high heavenly call into Christ Jesus. Chandler said, the word of God holds me to a certain standard, and I fell short. So now here's what's super interesting to me, because hold on, let me get into a little bit more of the detail here. For Chandler, the red flag came several months ago when a woman approached him in the foyer of the Village Church with concerns about how he was communicating with a friend of hers. He told the congregation he didn't think he'd done anything wrong, and the DMing was not a secret. His wife knew, the woman's husband knew, and yet the woman who approached Chandler did not think the online exchanges were appropriate. Chandler, who has been critical of social media's impact on pastors, has 134,000 followers. Nobody cares. According to Chandler, he found the confrontation disorienting and immediately informed another senior pastor and an elder at the church. They reviewed the direct messages and decided they were concerning. The church said in an online statement that it also hired a law firm to review Chandler's use of social media, including direct messages, as well as his phone, text, and emails. The firm, which has not been named, concluded that Chandler violated the church's social media use policy. He said, it was that our conversations were unguarded and unwise, and because I don't ever want there to be any secrets between us, the concerns were really about frequency and familiarity. We believe in brother-sister relationships here, and yet there was a frequency that moved past that, and there was a familiarity that played itself out in coarse and foolish joking. It's unbefitting to someone in my position. So, the reactions to this, for me, were, I'll be honest, a part of me thought, are they overreacting?
Yeah. I mean, it's okay to have friends.
It is. And so, but there was also part of me that, just think of how many people have just taken a whiz on God's good name with pastors believing they can do whatever they want, act hypocritically, act foolishly, outside of what God is called not only called his people to, but the higher calling of those who even represent that they are leading God's people. And I thought, what kind of awesome dude and has some sort of conversation where someone accuses him of something and he literally had no idea or concern that this was bad, and yet immediately goes to another guy and goes, we should check this out in case I'm wrong.
I mean, that I can see. That's okay, maybe there's a blind spot.
That's awesome.
Maybe, yeah.
It's different than the way that the church has been known to react to internal problems.
Every other sin wagon is going about this. You're hiding it, manipulating people, pressuring people. I'm the pastor. Shut up with that stuff. And this dude goes, how many times? I don't know, Dan. Maybe this happened to you. People who are hey, I think you're doing something wrong or I'm concerned about behavior, and I think about it, I'm like,
Yeah, we call that Tuesday.
right.
I mean,
right. Someone's got some sort of critique. Actually, I think I taught here at Pathway once, and I was talking about, I used the word crap.
Oh, yeah.
And someone was real piped up about it, like long email about it. And like it was in the context of I was talking about how unimportant we had just put a building together, and I was talking about how unimportant all of that is relative to don't get comfortable in here. Like, and I am like, I like doing this, and we bought all this crap at an auction, and I'm like pointing around. I thought nothing of it, just not a thing. And this lady was just real fired up about it, and I thought, like, I asked around, like, did I overstep? And we're like, probably not. She's probably just overreacting. But so like, but again, reaction one, dude doesn't go, it's a nothing burger. It's just another complainer. He finds someone who holds him accountable and goes, check it out.
And they agree. And they don't just agree to, like, be his friend and go, man, don't worry about it. Appreciate you trying to do the integrity thing here. But he's like, no, yeah, we'll look into it. And then, like, full-fledged looks into it and then comes back and goes, you know what? You might have crossed a little bit of a line.
Right. And
but a law firm confirmed that. Yeah, it was a little too many, too often.
I bet what the law firm...
You know this person too well.
Because they didn't give out a ton of detail, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think it was because they didn't want to expose the person that
on the other side of it.
And be completely objective. These are lawyers.
Yeah, right. And so they hired it, and I bet the law firm's job was to say, what is your stated social media policy or policy for elders? Mm-hmm. Did this conversation cross it? And that's what they were confirming or denying. Yeah. And so, like, So broad strokes. One, like when we're talking about leaders in God's church, of God's people, like pastors and elders, and Ben's been talking about this a little bit last couple of weeks, but like eldership is not a job; it's just what you are, right? And so like this is when they say the Bible will talk about what a qualification for an elder is, and it's like a husband of one wife, and he supports his family, and like he leads people in Christ, he lives honestly, and just that's a broad summarization, but like either way, like you're held to a higher standard. Like God says, look, if you feel like you are going to take a leadership role in shepherding my flock, just know that I'm holding you accountable for what you tell them, the example that you set for them, and how you live your own life as an example for other people to look at. I'm going to hold you to that, right? And so this is what's coming up here, is what they're talking about is there's a little bit when they say, look, it wasn't romantic or intimate, and we're like, whew, okay, it's not a sex scandal, like that's solid, we dodged one. But like he's like, the relationship between me and another woman, there were messages that were very frequent and very familiar. And this is where like some of our church tradition stuff I think is going to come in, right? Because like even guys like Mike Pence took a lot of crap in the media for like saying, look, I don't have meals with just me and another woman.
Yeah.
And this is kind of along those lines, right? Like where the rest of the world goes, hey, it's really not a problem if you have coarse joking, and we'll say coarse is probably like, they don't tell you what the messages are, but like biblically we look at coarse as maybe slightly inappropriate, or jokes or like whatever. So like overall, we would say a coarse joking between a man and a woman is not really a problem. The world would say that, and like the more traditional sense would go, look, you're crossing into areas of which they're kind of meant for your spouse, right? Anything of like a sexual nature, or even half joking about it, that all kind of belongs to your spouse, and maybe it's best to be left there.
Right. It just introduces concepts and things that put images in your mind, put thoughts in your mind in the surroundings of people who are not your spouse. And so that like it's just something you protect.
Yeah.
And so right. And so as a higher standard, the question is it like, are you acting a good example to people, or are you acting outside of those bounds? And so, I guess as you roll it up and think about it, is it appropriate to hold a guy like this to a really high standard? Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah,
I think that's right. And like, but here's I do wonder that they taken this step, even if it's I don't know how temporary it is, right? But as a demonstration of this is what it looks like for a guy to go, I asked to be held accountable. I'm willing to follow through with this. I'm willing, because like he didn't just open up his direct messages. He's like, check my text, check my email.
Yeah.
I'm not hiding anything here, because it is so important that God's leaders specifically, but like God's people act with integrity, because we so stink at it. So
I don't. So we talk often about building fences around.
Yep.
There's a principle. God says, don't have an adultery, right? Or don't look lustfully at a woman. And,
Yep.
that's the principle right there. We don't want him to have an affair.
Yep.
So they built this fences upon fences around that. Like, if you can't cross this fence, then you're not going to commit adultery.
Yeah,
so they
right.
have so many fences built. Like the guy stepped down because he did something that wasn't inappropriate, but could be if you let it go.
Yes.
I mean, it's not.
I kind of agree.
I mean,
with Dan.
We're
and here's
human beings. We get to have relationships. I mean, they're basically saying, don't have any friends that are women. Don't communicate other than strictly business. You know, did you get the letterhead?
Yeah,
done?
and
Yes.
that's here's the thing is like I've always struggled with that a little bit, because like it's like saying that I can only love, like in a Christian way, I can only love half the population.
Yeah.
Everybody else comes up and says, hey, like if a woman were, let's say my age and no connection to me at all, and says like, can you please tell me about Jesus? And I go, you're gonna have to talk to my wife, and then turn and run away.
See, I was gonna say, like, I'm already awkward around women because I want to make sure I already have my boundaries. Like,
Right.
I'm
Right.
just not gonna do anything.
Yeah.
And to think, well, I can't even send a haha, this is funny, because you're a human being, and we.
Yeah.
And
And
actually,
I respect it, but at the same time, I don't agree with it.
And I think sometimes this is so hard because it's going a different direction than I thought it was going to go. But like sometimes we overload our young men with this same principle to the point where like they can't talk to anybody.
Yeah, can't look them in the eye, can't have a conversation.
Yeah, like they're just
I'll go
freaked
to my
out. They're like,
phone.
I don't want to accidentally do whatever, and you're like, holy cow, like can we? The whole goal, right? The whole goal of what God is, I think, trying to refine out of men is like the culture looks like teaches men to look at women as a sexual object, right? I want to be able to look at a woman as not that. That's how I want to look at my wife that way. I want to look at every other woman as a reflection of God and something that I have easy love for, right? Like easy conversation and easy whatever for, and like their physical attractiveness is not the first thing that overcomes me. That is what I think God is trying to refine in dudes, not like don't look at them, don't talk
That's
to
right.
them, blah, blah, you know what I'm saying?
It sexualizes a woman. It treats her as an object when your primary description of her is as a risk. That sucks.
I mean, the Apostle Paul spoke with Lydia down by the river and then baptized her.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
What was he doing?
Right.
That needs to step down. It's like, no, he was
Right.
telling her about Jesus.
When he gives the letter to Romans to Phoebe to go take there and read to
Yeah.
them, like I'm sure they discussed.
I'll bet you.
She goes, here's how you handle questions, Phoebe.
Now, so like on the other side of that, do we feel like it's a good idea to put protections in? Of course I do.
Yeah.
Of course I think that, right? And like I think that especially when it surrounds like lead pastors. The example I thought of is like Obama's a smoker, right? And so like, is it okay if Obama smokes cigarettes? Yeah, I don't care, whatever, if he wants to be a smoker, right? Now when he becomes president, and we teach our kids, like in our social studies classes, to revere our president as our commander, is it different now that he smokes? We feel that way.
Yeah.
Like we were like, can you not do that like in front of cameras or whatever? Like at least hide it, because we don't want our kids thinking that we respect you so much and now it's okay. We don't want
Right.
them smoking in emulation of you, right? That's kind of, if I were going to take a non-Christian perspective, like that's kind of how we feel about the pastorate, right? That's kind of how we look at Matt, where he's like, is this really that big of a deal? No, but it would. But
That's an extreme step, though.
I kind of feel that it is.
Yeah.
I'm really. I guess I feel good about their reaction to it. I think they're falling on a sword, is what I feel like.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to do. Like make an example out of this. What happens when this stuff comes up? Although it probably isn't that big of a deal.
I mean, I want to know, like, the last time he went to a mall, shopping mall, like 14 years ago, whenever malls were cool, and he walked by the what's the store with the naked women on it, the
Victoria's Secret.
Victoria's Secret.
I wouldn't know.
Did he look twice? Yeah, exactly. I've never heard of such
I
a
don't
thing.
go to places like
Did he
that.
look twice because he needs to resign? I mean,
That's right.
even if they like, what was that? Like, whoa, that is what I thought it was. Oh, I'm going to the candy store over here instead.
It's
Yeah. So I think maybe, and this is inappropriate because it feels like I'm too far separated from this. But like, I would have liked to see the whole process go exactly how it went, and then he not step down.
Yeah, just say, hey, this was too close.
Yeah, I recognize. We put a guard in. That's what these are for. Nothing happened that shouldn't have happened. But like, I want you to know we went through the process so that you can trust that like we are holding ourselves to a higher standard.
And we excommunicated her from the church.
That's right.
Wait, no.
Right.
no.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got to feel awkward in this whole thing, too.
And that's the thing is they said that like she agreed to be part of the investigation. She was open about it. They said like we're not naming her because she's asked to be private, but if she decides she wants to come out and talk about it, she gets to completely do that. We haven't made her sign like a non-disclosure or anything. Like the ball's completely in her court, and I think the way they're handling it is admirable. Actually,
yeah,
but I feel like
the outcome is just not.
The outcome seems more for show, and and that's not, and I don't believe them to be that way. That's correct.
Of the pastor who's out there picking up girls at the bar, taking them to the hotel,
exactly,
at their little conference they're holding, but we don't want to be that.
Which sometimes
swing the other way.
Like sometimes you got your kids in a group of friends, and like you make an example out of your kid that's a little bit harsher, because you're tired of all the kids acting foolishly, and so they get a sense of. I mean, that's not right. I've done it.
Yeah.
But it's not. It succumbs to as opposed to treating it maybe as evenly as they should have. I agree with Mike. There's a bit of a posturing in there, and even if it's, hey, we would default to caution, which I understand, but like when it comes down to it, we should still deal with things as it lies and not posture for anything. If the right line is, maybe he even says it out loud and said it's just a caution. It's just and brings it to their attention because it provides confidence in people that like everything that we preach about, I'm not a hypocrite about. People can come to me. There is a process for people to look at it. My life is an open book because I'm taking responsibility to help lead this church. Like I would have still done everything up until the point of coming to the decision that says you should not preach or teach for a while. And now. Whatever, they didn't say the contents of the thing.
That's true. The thing could come out like they're like maybe they're covering up the big seedy details and whatever, and we've been fooled. But like, it's not the vibe that I generally get out of that camp, and so like, it's just maybe what's our caution here? Our caution is to is just be careful that we're not becoming pharisaical about our own stuff here, right? Like I have fences in my own life where I'm like I set up a fence here and a fence here, and I got 2 layers of fences because I'm weak enough to stumble into trouble, and so I set up a fence. So I bop into the fence, and so like, but like I don't get rebuked because I bopped the fence. The fence did its job. Right. And I'm thankful and grateful for the fence. And then I head back into the direction I actually want to be. And so like this feels like to me that like he ran into a fence, and instead of going, good, the fence did its job.
Yeah. Thank
you for the reminder. I'm going back to green pastures where I belong, and now we're mad because you bump into a fence. And like we as humans can't pull that off. Right. Like if you're going to get in trouble for even hitting your own safeguards, that's tough,
I mean, so what's he going to do when the homeschool mother shows up and says, I'm really offended you don't make your own clothing and you're not wearing denim?
Yes, I love denim. It's the Lord's fabric.
I mean, does that mean he should step down? I don't know. I struggle. At the same time, I believe in complete integrity.
Correct.
And so, yeah.
It's just it's an interesting thing to think about. And like it did hit close to home. Like we are so used to talking about pastors who were caught dead guilty, and really what had happened is they had covered it up for 20 years.
Yeah.
And this has gone the exact opposite way, and like it feels like their reactions all seem to be what we call for biblically, right? Like, yeah, own up to the truth, live with some integrity, and apologize, and whatever. I feel like the reaction's a little harsh. But then again, I guess we didn't read the messages. So overall, we're not trying to get into the church's business.
Oh, no.
God's handling that situation. They're praying through it as a community. I'm sure it's all fine. It's not a judgment on them or the pastor or the woman that reported it. All that is fine. It's more just us trying to think out loud, right? Just to make sure that we're not this is an odd story of a pastor, right? It's just an odd story because it feels like they're reacting to it appropriately. Just want to make sure that we're not creating swords to fall on just to appease the masses. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Hey, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe you got a reaction to that story one way or the other. You can give us a call or a text on the Live from the Path complaint line. That's 515-517-0085. That's the Bob Eisenhower Live from the Path complaint line, 515-517-0085.